All right, so let us talk about the full second season of Daredevil Born Again, right? So because we did that episode breakdown, or I should say the season 2 premiere breakdown, a while back, yeah, we don't really need to get into the synopsis of this full season, but let's just say it just sort of builds off of what happened in that premiere, right? Obviously, right? But we will talk some spoilers here, so you've been warned, right? But just general thoughts on the show, and then we could get spoilery from this point, after that point, right? So general thoughts, just getting them out of the way. This was a solid season of Born Again. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not perfect, however, there's some few narrative missteps here or there. There's some things that I felt they could have done a lot better. But I understand that they just had to move the story along, and maybe they just didn't have enough time to cover certain things. But for the most part, they really stuck the landing here, right? Performances strong up across the board. Just the dynamic between Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk, though, like it really like reaches its peak here, right? Because just from the series premiere alone, I love how the show sets up, how similar and different, right? There's a contrast between the two of them, right? How they move. There's a lot of parallel editing that takes place in that first season, and it's continued here as well, right? But it's just how they were just able to expand on this subplot involving Wilson Fisk and him trying to smuggle weapons into New York, and him bending the rules, and pretty much using the anti-vigilante task force, right? Yeah, just basically to kind of bring the people in New York like to their knees, like just having them in fear, right? I do admire how the show, and I call this, with my review of the premiere. Yeah, how contemporary it feels, right? Because yes, I said in that last review, yes, the AVTP. The AVTF, sorry, it's pretty much ice, and yeah, throughout this season, it's like, yeah, boy, them is like serious, like seriously, they are reminding me of ice in a way that they just barge into people's homes, into their workplaces, and it's like, yo, we could come in here and do it as we want. We could come in here without a warrant, and we could arrest you if we know that you aiding and abetting vigilantes. We don't care, no. And yeah, I mean, it works, right? Wilson Fisk again. I mean, well, Vincent D'Onofrio, though, I mean, he just kills it every single time as Kingpin. Yeah, but in this season, you really, really see him as this menace. But at the same time, I like how the show kind of humanizes him as well too, right? Especially with his relationship with Vanessa, right? The stuff involving Vanessa isn't as strong as all that, though. But the payoff of it all, though, I thought was absolutely worth it, right? I'll get to that in the spoiler. But what I'll say, though, it caught me completely by surprise. What happened, right? Like they sort of build it up in such a way, like, oh, everything's gonna be okay, and then they just come and hit you with that gut punch, like, nope, nah. He can't have that. He can't have that W, nope, and that's it.
Right. What they do it is because like this season was going normal for me, normal. Going, it starts strong, then it going normal, and then the finale was really good.
Yes, that finale, boy, my God. Even though I have a few issues with the finale, but we get to the spoiler section, you'll talk about it. But yeah, go on.
Right. What it did well is Matt's small space, right?
Yes, I was going to say that.
He had to compromise himself in interesting ways, and then what he had to do, in the ending, and the consequences of that, and him having to walk that walk, like that's why it worked. Like what did we do with him in the ending, that last piece, the courtroom scene involving Karen, that was great stuff.
That was great
and
stuff.
Then him having to, right, effectively, we had to take the hit for the greater good.
Yeah. It's very Dark Knight, but I love Dark Knight, so I mean, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And then they do the whole, and then we have the cameos, like, yeah, Mike Coulter comes back and Jessica Jones comes back.
Yes.
Hey, look, Daniel Cage, she's in this. So like, I would. And if, as I say, well, we'll get into this later, but like, I'll say it now. If you bring back Finn Jones, just go straight for heroes for hire. Don't bring it back if show. Maybe pivot off a new Spider-Man and the fallout from Doomsday or something when that time comes.
Yeah.
But don't waste your time bringing back Iron for sure. That's a waste of time. But yeah, as it is, they bring back the characterization, they make it work, and as a follow-up from the events of season 3, they come back to that space. The ending is kind of iffy. But I kind of understand why they did what they did, and something about it is kind of weird. But I'm not sure what they're doing there. But as it is, I really enjoyed it, and the arc makes sense.
Yeah.
Nothing, I didn't have any major problems as it is in that way, and it's just more his perspective, well, Matt's perspective of what had to happen for him to win, and I put the win in quotes. But it's like, yeah, no, he kind of had to do this. That's what he had to do, and they make it work. I can't be mad at any of it. I really thought it starts, as I said, it started off not as strong for me, but it really worked, all things considered.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Right. So few things for you, right? What they did with Poindexter, aka Dex, aka Bullseye, actually worked for me. There's one specific intro to episode that is so incredibly badass involving him, and in the spoiler section, I'll talk about the song that they used during that moment. I was like, all right, showrunners, y'all know what y'all doing. I fucks with that so much, right? But it works, right? The arc that he's given actually make a lot of sense as well too. And how it ends, I will talk about that in the spoiler section as well too, right? But yeah, just in terms of the contemporary nature of the show, how it feels like, just how this version of New York feels very lived in. It feels very real, and just the way how Kingpin moves as a mayor and, as a Kingpin, simultaneously actually work as well, right? There's a couple of characters that I felt they could have expanded more on, but they were just there to do what they had to do. I'll get to that in the spoiler section. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, this season totally worked, right? I actually liked binge, 7/8 of it, right? So I just watched first 7 episodes, and I took in the finale this morning, right? But yeah, just in terms of pacing, though, so well done, right? The action, it totally works, right? Very, very gnarly, very, very, very visceral when it needs to be.
The stuff with White Tiger, sure. Like the girl, this White Tiger niece.
Yeah,
and she's White Tiger later.
Right.
That was bad.
Yeah, it was. I have a list with that though, but I'll talk about that in the spoiler section, right? I'll talk about the new White Tiger, right? There's also the long take action sequence. I really dug how they pull that off. Just me being a little nitpicky. It is not as strong as the ones that we saw in the Netflix, the 3 seasons of Daredevil that we got on Netflix, but still it worked. I'll say the reason why is that you could tell where the cuts happen, right? And they do some creative kind of like camera tricks basically to kind of break up the monotony, just to break up the flow of it just a little bit, right? But they just sort of stitch it together to make it feel like it's one long scene, right? Especially when it comes to the fight scenes itself, right? But yeah, when you've seen these things before, you know where the cut takes place, right? But how it flows, though, I thought it absolutely worked, right? Music, of course, solid as well. The theme song totally works. Just that dark orchestral stuff. And speaking of dark, this last point I'll make, right? I have to bring this up, compared to something like, say, Batman v Superman, sorry for bringing this up, Ricardo. But yeah, this is the right way to do dark material. Yes, the situation that Matt, Karen, and the New Yorkers find themselves under the rule, if you will, of Wilson is very grim, very hopeless, right? But the show never gives you pure hopelessness, right? I mean, yes, there are moments where characters are put to the ringer. There are some character deaths where you really, really feel it in your gut, but the show never leans entirely towards hopelessness, right? There's always a sense of hope. There's always a sense that yes, we could, the good guys will come out of it now, you know what I mean? And justice will be served and whatnot, right? And you get that there. You really get that sense of relief, right? But it is earned. It's never forced. It's never shoved. It's never shoehorned. It really builds up and whatnot, right? And yeah, at the end of the day, it just totally works right down to the end, right? And yeah, I mean, no surprise we're gonna get a 3rd season of this. So, because I found out after the fact that I think I think initially they were supposed to film 18 episodes, but I think they just split it. Well, sorry, so it's 10. So maybe they might do 8 or maybe 10 more, I guess. I know they started on season 3. I know they started filming right now, right?
We're coming up on the. Yeah, we're coming up on the Punisher stuff soon.
Right.
And then that, guys, I don't know where the context is this in context with Spider-Man as well. Like, where is Spider-Man in all of this? Like, they're going to come up with an excuse as to why he's not in this. But this is a big thing. And then, the little side characters too. Like, I thought they did a great arc with, what do you call him? Uric's niece now, Baby Uric.
Yes.
She's great.
Yeah.
What they do is good. And the other, I forget the other guy's arc. There's this fella's son.
Oh, you're right, right. Oh gosh, well, James
Gandolfini,
Gandolfini's
right?
son, like real life son,
Right.
Blake, right? Well, that's his surname, but for now you call him Blake, right? Yeah. What they did with him, how that arc end, totally worked for me as well, right? All right, but yeah, as a whole, we wouldn't give out the ratings as yet though, but this was still a solid season nonetheless, and yeah, it had me very excited for Spider-Man, and of course, a third season of Daredevil, right? But yeah, this transition from Netflix to Marvel Studios, or I should say Disney Plus, absolutely works as well. I like the fact that they take no creative risk with the material, but they still keep that dark neo noir core to it, right? 'Cause yeah, at the end of the day, this is pure neo noir, right? Like straight up neo noir shit. And know me, I'm a huge fan of that, right? But yeah, in terms of the characterization and where they took both, well, in particular where they took Daredevil and Kingpin, absolutely worked for me, right? But yeah, this was a step up from the first season. I would say, yeah, this Marvel Studios run of Daredevil is strong, man. Like I'm definitely enjoying this, right? But yeah, before we get into spoilers, yeah, Ricardo, your spoiler-free thoughts on the second season here.
Yeah, as I said, I really enjoyed this how it was. Again, the main thing is the focus on Matt's perspective and what decisions he had to make in the context of his morality, and he had to make a hard call, and it's a good call. He had to do it. He was stuck, and his dynamic with Kingpin, they surprisingly evolved it. So I thought, all right, they can't do no more, and it getting a little tired and it's a little thing, but no, they evolved it with Kingpin and then the backport and then him and Thing, and then well, what they did with Vanessa, I thought it was good stuff. It's a good call ultimately, and they have the back and forth about it, but they did. I think ultimately this was really solid stuff. Great characters, great sets of villains. I can't be mad at it. I don't know, like I don't know if we should get an extra season with this, as it is. But they probably will do that. But I personally would like to see two things. One, I feel they should do Heroes for Hire, and then when they bring back Mike Coulter, yeah, Mike Coulter was Mayor after in the comics, so like, oh, they might do that, which will be like really interesting going forward. So I want to see where they're going to do that. I don't know if they'll do that in the show. They might, but I don't know. But I dug it for it because I didn't expect it to be as I started off, as I said, it started off okay, fluctuated for me, and then the finale was like really excellent. And it actually had me on my toes. And then another thing, Kingpin is not supposed to lay on that. Like, what the fuck, Joe?
I know, right?
That first part where you open the door and that's punch you for like bad whole head blast.
Boy, and then slight spoiler, folks. I know we're going to jump into spoiler territory in a minute or so, but the man had to go to say boom. I like, bro, like you. But we'll talk about him in a minute. But yeah, go on. Yeah.
But that action to the end, it was funny as hell though. But it worked. Like it's just really good stuff, and they carried the narrative escalation really well for what it was. I can't be part of it. It's fun stuff. It entertained. It was genuinely engaging, and it evolved. That's the main point. They evolved the characters in a space that actually have me like, okay, what's gonna happen next? Especially in the context of the grand MCU with well, one, Spider-Man, and then two, Doomsday. Like, because all of this gonna, like, wherever they're gonna do Doomsday, I still have no fucking idea where the hell they're going to Doomsday and what's gonna happen with that. But like, what are going to be the payoff from all of that, and where you're gonna go. But yeah, it's a hot minute that the MCU actually have me actually engaged. I want to see what's gonna happen next. That was a hot minute. That's a good sign. That is a good sign.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, right. But I dug it for what it was. Really enjoyed. Yeah, this was solid.
All right, so spoiler warning, you've been warned, EU, right? So let's start off with Kingpin, right? As you said before, brilliantly played by Vincent D'Onofrio, right? But yeah, his arc was kind of amusing though, right? Because while he's doing the whole Mia stuff and whatnot, right? So all right, so they set up this thing, like, I think, like, they established it in the second or third episode, right? Where he going to be in this boxing match, right? And you just, like, you hear like one time in that episode, like, boxing match, okay? Then you hear it in another episode, like, okay, boxing match, all right? All right, well, I guess in the next episode, we'll actually see this thing, right? And then I think it's in episode 4 or 5 where they say, oh, well, it's for charity, whoever it is, right? But I like how they set it up early on where you see him training. And listen, I saw it coming, right? The moment that Wilson hears some bad news from And here's the thing, the main henchman, right, Buck. I didn't even know this until this season. This man's name is Buck Cashman, you know. That's what kind of comic book name is that, boy? Buck Cashman, right?
Awesome.
And he is one of the grimiest people I see in that show. Like, that dude was legit terrifying, right? And not just because he British and, he was working as some assassin or whatever it is, right? But the man just so cold-blooded, like, he would just talk to you cool, and like, he would just ask you certain questions. If you answer them wrong, he will come after you, right? He is that guy, right? But more on him in a bit, right? But yeah, he gets some news from
Yeah.
Buck Boy, and then he just, like, beat the trainer. But that's last point I'll make, right? The trainer's like, oh, you only gotta get a minute to break. You only gotta get a minute to take a break, man. Come on, man. Like you come on, man. What, you think you're tough? And the man just come, Wilson, 2-punch, blow, and hit him in the face, blow, and that was it, Trainer dead, Again, I know this moment was coming, I know it, but the man literally beat his trainer to death to prepare for this boxing match, right? But yeah, you was gonna say?
Yeah, no, right. The little side characters they really work, and that, and then the aspect of what was going on with Matthew Lillard's character, like
Yes.
is this
The CIA guy who was working for Valentina. And I made a mistake because it's a good thing that I rewatched the first episode, right? Because I went up online and I saw that he had ties with her, but they actually said, well, okay, so one of the guys who came to complain to Wilson about what he was doing, he gets a call. And Matthew Lillard's character is like, hey, it's best that you answer it. And it was Valentina on the phone pretty much telling them to back off. I didn't know that until I rewatched the episode. So yes, her name was mentioned. But just to get out of the way though, if I have a gripe though, is like I felt like they could have not so much given Matthew Lillard's character more to do, but I felt he could have been a little bit more pivotal to the story itself, right? He just more came off as, hey, you're smuggling guns from me, wanna go and get my guns. Okay, you get my guns? Okay, fine, alright, cool. And he just go on. But I like what they do with him in the end, but we'll get to that near the end, right? But yeah.
Right. But the aspect of that is that because you're connected to because we call it Thunderbolts was in New York. It's like, well, where them? And so
True.
Like, they have to connect it, but they like the connective tissue not there, but I don't expect it to as it is, and they had to like, say, okay, they have a kind of a vague answer to why we think so. I don't mind that. Like when it kind of came to Valentina, it's like, oh, okay, I now know why they're not there because Valentina's the answer. Like Valentina's incredibly corrupt. And she's gonna be a villain going forward, and so on and so forth, stuff like that. So that's why I don't mind. And well, we had to just had that kind of answer the Spider-Man question, as it is. But like, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, and if I could just give one credit to Matthew, I like that. Like, listen, like I gotta say that he always plays douchey characters. Yeah, his character was like a real douche and, like real dropping F-bombs and stuff. Like, he was an asshole, but that was the point, right? Like, he was just always pissing people off, like there's one scene where he went by the governor's house, like, I never told you to come back here. And he's like, yeah, well, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, he just that type of guy, like, he just pisses people off. So it works within Lillard's acting strength. So I'll give him that for that. I'll give him that.
He's gonna be the DCU as well as another character. Like
yeah, what role is he, or what show is he gonna be in by? They said it just the other day.
Okay, they said so, but I don't know what he's gonna be in. I think he might be in Lanterns. I'm not sure. I don't.
Right. Also DCU, not to be confused with DCU.
Yeah, they knew stuff with Gun verse.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, Gun do the thing.
Yeah. So just to touch quickly on the actual boxing match, right? Because it actually matters going forward, right? Yeah, it was interesting that it takes place in Fogwell's gym. I forgot that this is where Matt learned how to fight in the first place. Well, sorry, where his dad was a boxer. I forgot about that. Okay?
Right.
Yeah. But how it ends really caught me. Well, I mean, him beating the guy was no surprise. Like, I saw that coming, right? What caught me though was Vanessa coming in. And if I just have like a little gripe though, like, alright, like I understand that they're trying to set up that Vanessa is kind of seeing her fate. Like, she's seeing that something's wrong. She's about to die because, Dex is out, right? And she fears that he will return, right? So she has like these like kind of slightly surreal dreams involving blue and stuff like that. They look cool and whatnot, but it was just kind of like just her kind of just kind of suddenly having this existential crisis out of the blue now, But yeah, her showing up at first kind of didn't make any sense. It's just like, okay, why are you there? And it was just like, oh, kiss me, right? I was like, okay, but all right, it was after the match, okay, but the man legit told you not to show up. Don't come, right? So it's one of those things where similar to Matt's ex, right? Heather, right? Yeah, where you could tell they're going through like mental issues, but I just felt like, I don't know, character wise, you could establish that a little better. Like I understand the visual stuff, right? Like in the case of Heather, she's seeing news all the time, right? Every time she's doing like a psych eval, right? She's always seeing news, and she always kind of sees the patient as news, so she always making like
Yeah, that's
errors.
a bit of a stretch.
Yeah,
Little bit of a stretch.
like I get, right? She angry and she want to take it out on people. I get that, right? But I just felt like character wise, they're gonna do Heather and Vanessa better in terms of the conflict, the inner conflicts that they're going through, right? But yeah, Vanessa showed up. Kind of didn't make any sense at the same time. When she pull out the gun, the moment that Bullseye come in and try to kill people actually works. But what I like though is that Bullseye takes one of the, because he was selling like these kingpin ornaments, right? He throw one, the glass one with him in the city, right? And it crashes, and Kingpin deflects it with the belt that he wins, right? And then one of the shards goes into Head, right? Let's wrap the scene up, right? So yeah, she's hospitalized, and I actually do like that episode 5 where we're seeing these flashback narratives going on, right? Points for having those flashback scenes take place in full screen. If the show is widescreen, and ever so often they'll play with frame size now, to show different aspects of what different perspectives, right? But like in that episode 5, when it came to the flashbacks, they were all full screen, right? So yeah, you got a pretty solid flashback involving, basically, although it's from Kingpin's perspective, where he meets Vanessa for the first time at this art gallery. That was really cool, right? But it's how it ends though, how that scene ends in the present time now, where she wakes up and she's like, tell me a story about how we first met. And then she says it again, tell me a story about how and then she starts to mumble. And I was like, oh shit. I legit thought like, okay, well, Vanessa gonna make it. I legit thought when the blood that come out here, yeah, she dead. Like the moment before she even, go to the hospital, she dead. But it's like, okay, they stabilize her, okay, right? But yeah, the moment she like couldn't talk, boy, and they tried to resuscitate her, that was it, boy. And I felt that, right? Last point I'll make before we get to your thoughts on, Vanessa and her death and whatnot, right? Is the following, the beginning of the next episode, right? Where that poor doctor come to Wilson, like trying to console the poor man, and understand it from his perspective, that is his role, that's what he's supposed to do, yeah, he hugged Wilson, and I just, they're like, I know he will do it, but Wilson, come on, man, don't do it, man. The man was harmless, like the man really tried, you could bear hug him, crack his spine. I was like, fuck you, boy. Fuck you for that. But at the same time, I know he was going to pull that shit. I know he was going to pull that shit off, right? But yeah, any thoughts on, what led up to Vanessa's death and, all that stuff?
Yeah. I don't think she was going to make it. Like, I never think she was going to. Because it's the only way to, like, genuinely escalate the scenario. Like, to have Kingpin crash out. Like, because at no point I thought she was going to make it, to be honest. So that's about that. But yeah, great scene. They make it work. They build it up well. And then, they of course Kingpin had a crash out as usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy villain.
What I will give Wilson, what I will give Vincent credit for, right, is how he humanizes Wilson. Like the moment where Vanessa wakes up, like it's just how genuinely warm the man is. Though, like the man was genuinely concerned. He saw tears in his eyes. It's like, listen, you're right. You need something to drink. Boy, I just love that little bit of humanizing that Vincent put to that character. Because yeah, I mean, you're supposed to hate Wilson, right? But at the same time, he's a man child. That's what he is, and he don't know how to process emotions, right? So just like, for example, the way like when Vanessa say, I want a pineapple juice, I was like, and then he asks this, can you give me a pineapple juice? Like, I don't know if you have any. Go get it. Be like, he's that type of guy who will be like, listen, get the juice, I don't care what you have to do, get the juice. But yeah, that little moment of humanizing that he does before Vanessa dies, though, that worked for me, That really worked for me. But yeah, sorry for cutting.
Yeah. The other thing too is a very underrated relationship is Matt and Kristen. So they were great together. Constantine,
yes.
Great chemistry. I wish we got more of them. But then, but we had Matt with the original, with the OG. They I think that works for the story and where they build from since the beginning of the season. And they make that.
Sorry, Matt and who?
Oh, but he OG now. What's his name? Karen.
Oh, Karen. Yes,
Um,
yes, yes. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so yeah, all of that does work for what they're trying to go for, and I just think yeah, they don't love it. I really wish they could have tweaked some issues with especially involving the psychologist. But that is about it. That part I didn't mind it. Well, they get to the ending.
All right. Well.
Well,
There's just a few things I want to mention before we get to the ending, right? Just moving quickly, right? Stuff with Dex absolutely work, right? I had to remind myself because it's been a long while since I watched the Netflix Daredevil series, but yeah, he's always about absolutions. I was like, all right, if I did this bad crime, I need to do something to balance the skills. I need to do some good, right? So that moment with him in the diner was so fucking badass, right? And what the secret sauce behind that was a little song from Billy Joel called New York State of Mind. And it's the original version. If you remember from a little album that we talked about at year's end called Light Years, yes, that's the song that they sample from. That's the song that they always sample New York State of Mind from. And hearing that song and seeing Dex just waste these guys, though, you know what I mean? That absolutely work. And it's just love letter to New York at the same time, right? So just that final shot of Dex leaving the diner, and then you just see that bus with the New York sign on it drive off. I was like, I fuck with that. That's so hard. I love that scene so much, right? But yeah, what they did with Dex absolutely work here, right? I mean, yes, he is that guy who will literally take a spoon and kill you with that. He will use that to ricochet and knock you over with a spoon. And he is that guy, right? But how it ends with him working with Matthew Lillard's character actually surprised me though. Like it actually surprised me, because because I don't know what was gonna happen to him, right? After he was supposed to kill Kingpin in the courtroom, which you'll get into with the finale. But yeah, he kind of came in and he shot he ended up shooting Buck, right? But yeah, afterwards he leave and he eventually worked with Matthew's character, right? That legit caught me by surprise, right? But yeah, I mean, Dex was great in this. And lastly, I'll say him and Matt together. Matt trying to get him to safety because because Dex got hurt now. You know what I mean? Those moments actually work, right? I love that just a line where you say, "I hate you for Foggy." That line alone, I love. Like I hate you for Foggy, but he still come through and help him out. I love that. I love that.
All these little compromises that you had to have him, do that.
Yeah. And in particular, this last point, in particular with Karen and how she still feels about him, that work and how she blows up when when Matt is like, no, don't kill him because Karen had a gun to the man's head and Matt was like, no, don't do it, right? And that's when she blew up and let him know, listen, like you can't keep doing this whole righteous stuff thing, like you had to make a choice, and that is what leads to the finale, which absolutely worked for me, right? So yeah, just to get to the finale here, right? The courtroom stuff, like I wasn't really thinking about the courtroom stuff really throughout the season, but I like in the 7 and 8 episode, right? That's when it comes back, right? So you see Kirsten, who works with Matt, legally. I like that she comes back, I like that, Matt shows up to the courtroom. That was really cool as well too, right? Of course, Wilson had to be, a dick, so, he sent the goons to shoot him in the car park and whatnot. But I love, like, in the finale, the man show back up, bullet in the leg, and the man still come through. That works, right? But we have to talk about the moment which I didn't see coming, but at the same time, I was like, this is the only way you could have solved the problem. Him kind of revealing who he is.
They pulled that trigger.
Yeah, it's like, the man says, I am Daredevil. It's like, that makes a lot of sense. Because all true is like, well, because you have the guy who was trying to rope back Kirsten into his team, saying, well, you need the witness to come and give the evidence. So, so Matt is like, well, all right, well, fine. Well, I am the witness guy. I was there on that boat. So, I am Daredevil. Do something about it, bitch. You know what I mean? So like that.
And anyway, you need anything to prove it because like nobody believes you. It's like, what? A black guy is Daredevil.
Speaking of that, right? That guy who says that Powell is such an asshole, boy. He is just the grunt who will just beat somebody or shoot somebody down. He don't care. He just absolutely does not care, right? But if I have a gripe with that character, right, is that when we get to the scene that happens right afterwards now where we have the riot, right, which I would agree really feels like January 6th. Like I was watching, I was like, yes, I feel like this is like a anti or reverse version of what happened back in January 6th, back in 2021, I believe it was, right? The whole Capitol Hill stuff, right? I saw that. I can't be the only one who saw, these people, these rioters dressed like Daredevil storming the courthouse. I was like, yeah, that's January 6th. I know what they did there, but it works, eh? But I'll get to that point just all right. But yeah, Paul, right? So there's a moment where he's like, yeah, gun these people down, right? And then he talking to the black man. It's like, no, you can't do this, right? It's like, fuck, you're going to do this, right? And yeah, the black man knocks Paul down, right? Yes, I like that moment, right? Came out here, Ricardo, talking quickly. There are other AVTF people there, right? Kind of keeping the rioters at bay, right? And yeah, the black man is like, just let them through. Like, what? Like, I understand, but like, literally, you're letting these people in. One, where there are other people, where there are other like AVTF people there who don't even know what's going on outside, and they will just gun these people down because they storm any place, right? You just let them inside to get gunned down, and then even worse now, when Wilson's like, I will fight for my city, and then he come and just start mowing people down. Yeah, I felt they could have just write that a lot better. I understand morally why he do it, why he was like, let them through. It's like, nah, like, like, you have other trigger-happy people in your team, right? Like, you send them in to get gunned down. That makes no sense, right? Also felt like the stuff with BB, right? And there was a great reveal with her being the one who was doing the whole underground podcast, the video casting. That was cool. But also conveniently, right? Also conveniently, the moment that Wilson put out a address the nation and said, "Oh, we at war," right? All of a sudden, you were able to couple up this quick video, and somehow the whole city sees this video at the exact same time and get motivated to go to storm the courthouse too. That's a huge stretch, bro. That's a huge stretch, right? At least to me, right? But yeah, that's to wrap things up, right? Yeah, that scene with the rioters storming into the courthouse absolutely worked for me. I felt that tension. But is Wilson just starting to knock down people? Dude, that scene caught me completely by surprise, right? And not only justifies the boxing match that we had earlier, right? Yeah, where he not afraid to like beat a man to death, like punch him to death, right? But yeah, just to show just how vicious of a man is, right? Because I remember in the last season, the finale, yeah, he squeezed a man's head. Like he squeezed his head until it burst, right? But yeah, him just punching people down. Again, that first man who ran into him, boom! Blow, punch the face and he bust the edge. It's like, wow, right? Yeah, again, just showing just how much of an asshole Wilson is, right? But I do love, and I know some people might be divisive by this, right? But I do love that moment where you see all the rioters ganging up on Wilson and start to punch him and kick him. And yeah, Matt is like, no, stop this. Like, you need to stop this, right? So that's why I see this like this is a reverse January 6th. Because you know what? The showrunners don't want people to think, like we flat out hate Trump to the point that, we want to see him killed by the people. It's like, no, like there's better ways to do this, right? So two things. The compromise that works where, what Matt and Wilson, hammer out, that worked for me, right? I think that scene generally works. Just that moment of compromise. And you could tell like you could tell like they kind of respect each other in that sense, right? Like, yes, they hate each other, but at the same time, it's like, listen, like, we can't keep going that we truths at this trend because the people gonna suffer as a result. So we gotta do what we gotta do, right? So I just like that particular moment, right? But yeah, before we get to the end now, yeah. So your thoughts on that whole that courtroom attack, riot scene, and in particular, did you see the parallels with Capitol Hill, or was I the only one?
I get that. It was good. But yeah, the scene escalated well with Matt and Jessica Jones, and then the White Tigers fighting through the crowd. That was pretty cool. And it worked. Like, it's like, yeah, they had to make that decision to defend Fisk in the end, and it I don't know. Like, it's just, again, Matt compromising himself in ways that works, and again, it's good character stuff. But yeah, I like that scene.
Right. So before we get to the end, right? So I forgot to mention, right? The cameos. They were spoiled for me, unfortunately. I was, thanks to social media, right? You just scroll through, you just see a little pictures like, oh God, I didn't need to see that. So yes, I know Jessica Jones was gonna be in it, right? And yes, I know Luke Cage was gonna be in it, right? I was hoping that he would have been in it, right? But yeah,
Right.
I think I saw the picture that he put up on X where he was like on set for the season 3. I was like, oh god, like I don't know if he put that out on purpose or if Marvel Studios do that on purpose, right? Like I don't know if they pull off like a WWE kind of stunt where they leak something and people supposed to think, oh, why would you leak that? But it's like at the same time they did it for a reason, you know. So I feel like that's the case, right? But yeah, I knew that they were going to be in it, right? And I don't want to say that Jessica Jones was shoehorned into it, but I like how she's worked into the story. She comes in episode 6, but you know she doesn't come in too late, right? But she's there. I like that they set that moment up with her daughter, and because I don't know the comics all that well, yes, I had to do some extra mental legwork to be
So
like,
Daniel
oh,
Cage.
that's Luke Cage's daughter. Oh, right. I forget Defenders. I forget Luke Cage. I forget Jessica Jones. I forget like 3/4 of what happened in those shows, right? So I had to kind of sort of put two and two together, right? That's what I end up doing, right? And lastly, White Tiger. While I was liking what they were doing with the niece, right? Of the guy who got killed, right? I felt like okay, like they was teasing the whole thing with her and the amulet, but it's only in the end where she get to pull some moves. And swear to God, right? Where when the riot was taking place, she was on some Nightcrawler shit, like jumping
You
and
know.
bouncing off walls. I was wondering, wait, is that Nightcrawler? Is only when they stop at she feels like, oh shit, that's you. So I felt like she could have used the powers a little earlier in the film. I'll tell you where, right? Where they did the whole long take fight scene, right? This is where they went to free all the people who were captured by the task force, right? Included Swordsman, by the way. Like, remember she was
Yeah.
there and she got Karen involved, right? I thought that was the moment where she could have put it on, and they teased it there. She would, should she put it on because she had like a bag and the amulet was there, and she had the suit. So I thought she was gonna put it on there, but it's like nope. She just wait till the end to do it. I was like, nah, man, too little, too late, right? So when it comes to the end, right? Montage absolutely works, right? The only iffy thing for me is Heather and her having the Muse mask. That was a surprise, but is her putting it on. And I like how you just have that scene with her looking at herself in the mirror and she looks normal. I thought that was a nice touch. But now it's like, okay, so is she gonna be Muse? And she's gonna do her own take on what she thinks a vigilante should be. I guess we'll see. I just felt in general her character should have just been fleshed out a little bit more instead of just being this weird kind of psychotic kind of character out of the blue. But okay, whatever. But what catch me though is the final scene with Matt and Karen though in the restaurant, and when the police come for him, right? Okay, yeah, in my head I was telling myself, hey, Matt, back to normal, like he could live his life out. It's like nope. As soon as the sirens come, I was like, yeah, that's it, right? And yeah, there's the parallel with him in jail and him see the other members of the task force. So yeah, I mean, who knows what's gonna happen there, right? We'll see, right? But just the parallel between him now and now Wilson, who is on this beach. I love how it resembles that scene that you saw in episode 5 now, where he's at this beach with Vanessa, right? So yeah, he's at a beach all alone. I love the fact that you don't see his face, right? Similar to the series premiere, you see from behind his head, right? So I love how they just show that, right? And yeah, that final shot of Matt in the jail and just
Yeah.
close the door on him, right? Yeah, it works. It's just visually just such a powerful way to just end that season off, right? Very, very dark night, I must say, right? And last thing, Alias Investigations. Not familiar with that at all, but I like that it is, it's clearly, Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, right? They have they have a business, right? They have a justice serving business, So I like that they actually are working together. And obviously they're gonna expand on that in the next season. I don't think they will in the Spider-Man movie. I don't think so, right? But yeah, that was interesting because I didn't know what their dynamic was at all, right? It's only after the fact I found out what it was, right? But yeah, just the way how that episode ended, yeah, totally worked for me, right? So before we get to the rating, yeah, Ricardo, your thoughts on just the final moments of this finale?
Right. So yeah, the Alias Investigations, Daniel Cage. Right, good to tease something like that. Well, if you know who she is in the comics in the future, cool stuff. Like okay, we could get that. Because again, this might be leading up to some doomsday something. Not sure, but yeah, I was just good. And then what going on with Fisk in the end? And I find it didn't look like a real beach. So a lot of people thought it was the Tahiti, with his
Oh God. Right. The same thing that that
from
that Nick Fury was in. What's it called? Sorry.
what they call him
Coulson.
Colson, right?
Right.
It
Yes.
looks like that. It looked kind of fake, but I don't know. Like if is he on a real picture, or is it just shitty green screen?
Yeah. Well,
It
but
looks different.
that's sorry to cut you, but what was it again? Was it God?
Like a simulated world. It's a simulated world because they had to repair his body, So they put him in like a fake world for a while. So like it's probably something like that. But I don't know. I don't think it's that, but it looked like that. I don't know. It feel like that. So as well.
Right. That's a good theory, though. Yeah.
Maybe, but the thing is, like in the real answer, like, oh yeah, he does get blah blah, because the government and so on and so on. You can get into all that. But a lot of people say no, he should be in the RAF or whatever. It's
Yeah.
fine.
And I know people will kind of argue about, he get a plea deal. Like, look, the man just beat a bunch of rioters. I don't know. Like, in my head, I was wondering if there was going to be security cameras in that hallway. Because, listen, they're in the courtroom, They're not in the mayor's office, They're in the courtroom, So, like, I thought, like, cameras would have picked up on him beating on a set of people, It was like, apparently, like, he just had the blood and just assume, okay, well, he's just a bad guy, so let me just exile him, okay, right? But yeah, I know people will talk about why he wasn't arrested, right? That's the point again.
Yeah, so it dies about it. The ending was, I think, it was solid. Putting matinee ending. We're not sure where you're going to end up. I don't know what's going to happen going forward. But again, as I said, this ending is actually I'm excited for the MCU going forward. That is a good sign. Punisher and Spider-Man, and I know Punisher going to beat Spider-Man, so we'll see. So they're doing something.
Yeah.
It's popular characters, so that means the money going to come through. So hopefully we'll get some like actual momentum with the MCU again. Hopefully. So that's about it. Rated. Can I say my rating now?
Yeah, sure.
8 out of 10. I thought this was really good. It started okay. Meandered for a couple things because of like where the story had to go. But then when the momentum started hitting, especially after Vanessa's death, when it started to pick up, and that finale is fantastic. So yeah, I thought the hell out of this. I didn't think this would be as good as it was. Really loved it. Really liked it.
Right, and before I get to my rating, I didn't mention Blake's death. That scene totally worked for me. It's just how his character was put through the ringer, right? Because I do like the on again, off again relationship he has with BB, right? And I mean, I can't blame the man. I really can't blame the man, right? But yeah, she has been picking his brain and like leaking stuff, right? So when it's revealed that she was the one who's doing the whole podcasting, right? Like it surprised me, but at the same time I wasn't surprised at the same time too, right? That's how I felt, right? But yeah, I felt that moment in episode 7 where and it's how they set it up too, right? Where the previous episode, they try to pull a Sopranos moment, right? Haha, right? Where it's like, where Buck is like, listen, like come in my car. All right, we're gonna get this thing, and Buck is and Blake is freaking out like, oh God, you're gonna kill me, right? That is straight up Sopranos. It's actually a famous death that plays out just like that. Like the car is like, oh God, you gotta kill me. It's like, get out the car. Oh God, don't kill me. And the police are just like that, but they do something a little different here, right? But yeah, that moment where, Buck got him down though. I felt that. Not too hard, but I felt it though. Like you could tell that Blake really, really tried to do the right thing, right? Even from the series premiere, but it's like, nah, like he was just caught up in that corruption, dude. It was too late, right? It was too late. So yeah, I feel sorry for the man, right? But yeah, that aside though, decent to strong 4 out of 5, man. I really enjoyed the season here. I want to see where the story goes next, and in particular, how it ties to the cinematic stuff too. I'm really, really excited here, right? So yeah, Marvel Studios is on a roll here with this show, right? I know there's the fatigue that many people still feel, but I would say, this is one of those shows that I highly recommend that you should check out, right? Fatigue or no fatigue. It is one of the best MCU shows like out there right now. So yeah, definitely check this out. And again, just that transition from Netflix to Marvel Studios, absolutely worked though. It's like it's as if, it never left, Joe. It really feels like it's been the exact same show, but there's different platforms, right? So yeah, I can't be mad at any of this, right? Yeah. All right, so let's move from Hell's Kitchen now to Little Sicily, right? So let me talk
Right.
about the Punisher One Last Kill, which is a Marvel television special. This was being hyped up. As soon as the season 2 of Daredevil Born Again kicked off. Yeah, we got the announcement about this, right? The trailer came out,
Right.
looked pretty cool as well. We didn't mention this in the spoiler section to the Daredevil stuff, but yeah, we didn't see what happened to Frank Castle, right? Because at the end of season 1, he was able to free himself from that prison, right? But we don't know what
Right.
happened, right? But now it's kind of clear, that he moved back to his stomping grounds, basically, right? So, Ricardo, if you don't mind, I want you to do the synopsis for this, but what I'll just say is two things, right? So, this is technically the official, let me just say, this is the official intro of Punisher into the Marvel Studios universe, right? If you will,
Right.
right? Because he had a couple of seasons on Netflix. It is still, in my opinion, the most violent of the Netflix MCU series. Like, no lie, there is, I'll never forget this, right? There is, in the second to last episode of season 1, right? There's a torture sequence involving Frank, right? Just being pummeled, right? That is still probably the most brutal thing I have seen in the MCU. And that this even tops what Kingpin did at the end of season 1, where he crushed a guy's skull. Like, that
Right.
scene with Frank, though, is still the most brutal thing I have seen in the MCU, Netflix wise, right? But honestly, even though we covered the first 2 seasons of that, that show never really stood out to me. Like, it was, I'll put it alongside Jessica Jones, as they were fine, they were serviceable, they kind of give you what they were
But the problem,
advertising, right? But it just
the
never
problem is
stood
that
out
the
compared
problem,
to
yes,
Daredevil or Luke Cage, in my
right.
opinion.
No, the problem is that they put out too much of Frank's story in Daredevil. So like for them,
Yes,
they
yeah.
just kind of reset the story, so it wasn't like interesting, whatever.
Yeah, that's true, right? So yeah, I mean, it
Right.
was only a matter of time that that Punisher would have pop up in Daredevil, right? So yeah, he showed up
Right.
in Born Again season 1. He wasn't there in season 2. So yeah,
Right.
technically, to make a long story short, this show is meant to be a bridge of sorts between Born Again season 2 and Spider-Man Brand New Day. 'Cause yeah, for whatever reason, and I hope it's a good reason, yeah, Punisher is going to be in that Spider-Man movie, right? So I
Right.
didn't
Right.
know
Oh,
this
we saw
till,
in trailer, right?
yeah, so I didn't know this till after the fact, right? But this show is directed by a guy by the name of Ronaldo Marcus Green. I was like, where do I know this name from? And he's the guy who actually directed one of your favorite films of 2024. That would be Bob Marley, One Love.
Oh,
I just
right.
saying that, right? I'm not saying that, okay, like, that show had to be some kind of benchmark. Like, okay, like, I need to, judge Ronaldo's work on this show because of what he
Right.
did with One Love.
I
I'm
mean,
just saying he did that.
this
Right?
fella, the fellow who did Flash also gave us Welcome to Darius or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. So,
Right.
mad props to Ronaldo for getting, a little Marvel Studios money. That's cool. That's cool, right? But that's all I have to say,
Well,
right? But yeah, Ricardo, yeah, what was One Last Kill about, right? And just
right. So
similar to what we did there with Daredevil. Yeah, we will get into some spoilers. Not too much, but we'll get into spoilers. But yeah, what was One Last Kill about?
right. So this was it's him kind of at kind of rock bottom, and he having visions of his marine friends, mostly Curtis. I forget his last name. Um, and it's about him trying to be supportive of him, but then it's a sort of gang violence because of the a vacuum left by I forget the crime family thing, but
They are the Nucci family.
Nucci. Okay, no, right. I was thinking of Nuki. I was thinking like for some reason I was thinking faster. Right, yeah,
Oh,
the Nucci crime friend.
right.
But yeah, you have a dog, and they go to the restaurant, but then he gets attacked and all of them beat him up, and they kill the dog. So some John Wick nonsense.
Oh,
And
wait. Well,
yeah,
no, sorry. There's some a vagrant. Right. He's the one who owned the dog, and the dog gets killed.
okay, no problem. Right, and then Castle, he get he back, he light up, and then it's time to get through to everybody. He get to like what's the fella named Donut? Right, the place Donut. He gets a cup of coffee. Dre and Charlie with his daughters, right? And then he did visit his whole family as well, and that's about it. And yeah, it's just about this crime family and getting revenge on all of them, and being haunted by the visions of like everybody in terms of thing, and he hallucinating everybody for some reason. Yeah, and then Manucci with her she trying to be a badass and she coming through as well, and yeah, that's about it. This was a kind of a mess. Kind of hated it.
Listen,
Kind of
the way how you were trying to remember bits and pieces of the narrative,
Yeah,
I was like, yep, I know exactly how you feel. But go
yeah.
on.
There's a kind of a mess. The problem with it is that it felt unfinished. It felt like an unfinished. It feel like they could have cut a good, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes from this in terms of like the editing. They tried to do a sort of mix up of a bunch of ideas, and then yeah, it just felt outright unfinished at parts. Like it had a shot with involving some unfinished CGI and things like wow, that is not done.
Oh, we'll talk about that in the spoilers.
Yeah, yeah, no, that is ridiculous, and it's so I just didn't care for this one at all, Joe. Like it's a big disappointment, especially compared to the other stuff like Werewolf by Night and things like these things also feel like big works art, and to have this unfinished mess and to put this out, like you could have waited, like we'll wait, just finish it, like just in fact you should re-edit it and finish it properly and put it out. Like it's a mess, it's just unfinished. The idea itself not that bad, but like the only issue is that Frank's characterization is that he's supposed to be so mentally disturbed. Like I don't remember him ever being like that, even in this version of him. So that's it. And then on top of that, when it ended, that's when it was getting good. You finally have the outfit. The outfit looks good.
It
So
does.
like I don't know if you're gonna get more of this in Spider-Man, probably. I'm not sure. Like that's how they ended. So they do that. But yeah, very little of this was working for me. It messy, it all over the place. The violence was underwhelming. Again, unfinished special effects, unfinished visual effects. Yeah, half-assed. That's the big problem I had with this.
All right.
Undercooked, no key.
Undercooked donkey. Oh Lord. All right. Well, for me, I am indifferent to this, right? I really wanted this to be like a guilty pleasure kind of film, but the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, there could have been more to it, right? So this is spoiler free territory. We'll get to spoiler territory when I'm done, right? I'll keep it short and sweet, right? So yes, this really feels unfinished, right? But here's the issue, right? The length of it, right? Like the moment I saw this thing was 48 minutes, I was like, all right, okay. And it's not because the story itself couldn't have been told in such a short period of time. It's just that this is like the launch pad basically for what could be a Punisher series, right? On
Right.
Marvel television, right? That's what I assume all of this is about in the first place. I think this goes past his upcoming appearance in Spider-Man Brand New Day. I think that they are really aiming for a series, right?
Okay.
The way how the show ends is like, yeah, technically, and this is how I feel about this special here. This feels like a pilot. This really feels like a
Right.
pilot to what could be a series going forward, right? And because of that, no, I'm left wondering, why wasn't this thing longer, right? Now, okay, like I understand the aesthetic that Kevin Feige and them go with, especially with the term television special and how they present it visually, right? At the very beginning, right? You wanna kind of go back to the days where TV specials were like an hour long, man, and it was like a big deal, right? But with something like this, you could actually go for a little bit longer, I mean, I'm not asking you to give me like an hour and 45 minutes, right? But this could have been like an hour and 15 tops, right? Or hour and 20. This could have been longer. Because yes, the story felt very unfinished, right? It felt incomplete, sorry. And you really feel it in the first act of it, right? Which is just Frank in his apartment, going through the whole PTSD stuff, right? And yeah, you are right. I don't remember him going through mental illness in the way that he does there, right? Like I actually like how they portrayed visually, right? With the rapid cuts
Right.
where you're seeing a person's image and then it just
Right.
disappears. I like that. It's simple,
Yeah,
it's to the point, it's
they'll
cool.
cut the Karen and they'll cut. But to me, that's something like this coming across more like schizophrenia than anything.
Right, yeah, exactly. Where it's all like, is this real and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
But even in the first season of Born Again, I don't remember. I don't recall. Actually, no, he didn't move like that at all, right? He was just
Right.
like this.
Yeah, disgruntled and traumatized.
Yeah,
right.
disgruntled, traumatized. He was I was gonna say nomad, right? But he was more like this. He was like in this cave, right? He was just like all alone, basically. That's what it was. He was just all alone, just sort of detached from society, and he had a reason to, because he just felt like he couldn't face Kingpin without dying, right? That's what it was, right?
Right.
But like I didn't get that sense here. It was just like he was just shutting the world off because he was going through all these past sins and all that kind of stuff involving his family and all that kind of stuff, right? But I'll get into that a little bit later on with the spoiler section, right? I actually dug the action for this, right? Because of how visceral and gnarly it was, right? And I will talk about a specific song that was used that had my blood going a little bit, right? That had my heart pumping a little bit more, right? But I'll get to that in spoiler section, right? And I was liking, like, just okay, like the setup of it, right? The setup of it and and how Frank is put in it. I actually like, right? From a thematic and sort of like from a new noirish kind of perspective, I really like that, right? But I just felt that there could have been more to it. There could have been a bigger payoff. There could have been a better payoff to it, right? Because ultimately, this sort of ends like, hey, hopefully we'll get more of this if a series get greenlit, right? That's why to me the special ends the way how it ends. It really ends like, hey, this is a series premiere. If you want to know more, if you want to see what happens next, tune in, next time or whatever it is, right? That's how it really feels, right? But John Bernthal, I mean, he does what he does. Like I can't honestly say that he's the best Punisher actor ever, because like, is there like a true definitive like Punisher actor out there? Like, what is it? Thomas Jane? Is it that dude from Warzone? I forget his name right now. Is it Dolph Lundgren? And I haven't even seen that film yet. I heard it's like so bad it's good, but I just never took the time to watch it. But I did watch the Thomas Jane one. I went to cinema to see it.
Right.
I didn't see the other one. I watched it home, and it was like, oh, okay, all right. I think it's Ray Winstone. I think that was him, right?
Ray Winstone. Yeah. He died recently, I think.
I think he did pass away. That was like when he was working on Oscar, I think. Ahsoka, sorry, Ahsoka, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. But I only saw both of those films once, to be honest. So I can't say that John is the best, but it is the same Shane from Walking Dead that we make fun of, especially when he's really grunting and I mean, when he like charging to fight somebody, he still does those moments of like, all right, okay, but he is quite believable when he is like beating the shit or shooting on people, like like when he gets down and dirty, it works, right? It's just the story surrounding that I felt could have been so much better. You know what I mean? Like it just really feels like we are watching a series premiere here, right? So now to get to these spoilers, you've been warned, EU, right? So yeah, like I said before, I felt that first act really leaned so much into the whole schizophrenia stuff. I was okay with him seeing his Marine buddies, and I actually like how it starts off with him kind of reciting this sort of mantra, and hearing like the other soldiers kind of chiming in with him. Like almost like you forgot what your purpose is. I actually like the line that Curtis say, so what's your purpose now? You know what I mean? Like I like that. That's pretty cool, right? That was okay, but two things. One, it just ran for way too long. Like I was digging it. Like, okay, all right. But I didn't need Karen Page cameo. That just sort of came out of nowhere, to the point that even I was wondering, is she really there? But it's like, no, she's seen him. Like he's seen her. But like, okay, why is she there? Like, okay, is it because she needed to console him? But why? Like, I don't know. That just felt shoehorned. That just felt like remember, this is still part of the same, Daredevil, the same transition from Netflix to Marvel Television, man. So that's why Karen Page is there. She didn't need to be there, right? And even felt the same way about the moment with him at the graveyard, right? Yes, like thematically, I like it. Okay, it works emotionally, but I just felt it just ran too long, because you got the flashbacks with well, not so much flashbacks, but more like visions of the family, and they kind of call them out, but he just becoming more and more detached. And I just said like, all right, I get it. I get where the show is coming from. I understand. I'll close to this before I get to the action now, right? I do admire at the very end where they talk about, if you know someone who's dealing with mental illness and / or suicide, contact this number.
People do this. I hate when people do this. Like, what's the point of this? Right?
I know, but hear him out here on the fence of this. On the one hand, I admire that at least they did this, because it's easy to throw in mental illness and schizophrenia, right? Like, oh, this is characters build up, right? Like almost like this is just a lazy way to show that a character is being tormented, But I like that they didn't just throw in the mental illness stuff for the sake of it, right? It's like, okay, well, if we're doing this, at least we gotta kind of highlight that there are people who suffer from this, right? So yeah, so that same moment where he went into the corner store to get the coffee, right? Prior to him coming in, this is like madman who comes in, and he all erratic and talking to himself and all that, like, okay, like, all right, like, understand if you want to include these things, you have to kind of let people know that, yes, we at Marvel Studios acknowledge that mental health is a serious issue. Yes, mental illness, sorry, is a real issue. So we need to put in this call to action. But at the same time, like this is not like a 80s drug PSA drug. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like this is not, this is your brain on drugs. Like we
very special,
understand drug.
very
We
special
understand.
episode very special episode of Blossom, right?
Yep, for real, for real. Yes, yes, you're right, you're right. Yes, we get it. We understand. We get it, right? The problem for me though is that the show don't touch enough on mental illness to warrant that call to action, right? But then that this goes back to the problem of pacing because you just spend so much time showing me just how mentally ill Frank is, where we're just there like, all right, when we're gonna get to the action, bro? Like what we doing here? But yeah, Ricardo, your thoughts on the whole mental illness angle that the show attempts to cover?
I don't get I don't get what they're trying to go for, to be honest. Like it just seemed to just unnecessary drama given Punisher as an arc. And like I get what they might go for, but yeah, it doesn't work for me.
Right. So as I said in the spoiler free section, right? I like the setup of it, right? Where you see Ma Nucci come in now, and at first I get catch her because she say, my family got taken from her just like yours. So in my head I thought, oh, okay, so she gonna hire Frank to go after the person who killed she family. I like how they show it in like these neo-noir kind of flashbacks, like these noirish flashbacks, like, oh, you don't know who the person is who killing off she family. But then when you come to the last man, it's like, oh, you realize it's Frank. It's like, oh, okay, I like that, right? And then she basically drop a sort of a dread. It's more dread than the raid, basically, where it's like, hey, you know what?
Right.
I am giving out this order, right? Open season on this guy here, and at 6:47 p.m., or they go in for this guy. This is the location, or they go after him. So I like that. That's a great setup here, right? I actually do like the whole apartment complex being used as a backdrop for, basically what we get this raid scenario, right? And as a raid knockoff, like it works, right? But again, I like the setup of it, right? Now when it comes to the action, you didn't like it, but I like the gnarliness of it. I like that it's just gunshots to the chest and shotgun blasts, and it's all gunfights, and it's him going from roof to roof, and going on top, and he going on top of the roof and all that kind of stuff. It working it, and I liking the visceral nature of it all, right? Wait, lose me now. And here's the thing, I didn't catch it, but I was hearing about the scene that took people out because the CG looked bad. But I wasn't thinking about it when I saw the scene. It just happened. I was like, wow. Like I was invested in the scene. So I was like, oof, that hurt.
Yeah, no, he does fall out, but they cut it fast enough. But when you see it, it's like, nah, but some Zack D films kind of level of CGI.
Yeah, boy, because the scene just goes on for a few seconds too long, right? Because what they could have done, and this is what the scene we're talking about, folks, is where he drops off a roof. Drops off a floor. And no, actually a roof from one building to another, and he hits this steel background platform, right? But you see like his body started turn and twist a little bit on the impact of the fall now, and it just looks fake, right? I was more thinking about the impact. I didn't look at the body movement, but when I thought about it, I was like, yeah, boy, like what they could have done was just have him bounce off of it and fall, like how it happened later on, where he falls off a floor, and then he hits one bus and then falls off, hits another bus and hit the pavement. That would hit the street. Sorry, that would have been okay if they had done it like that, right? But to show him fall into the platform and then the body move on the impact, that's where you see the CG, you know what I mean? But when you think about it, that scene. That shot by oof. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I just saw it, like I glanced at it, but I didn't watch the full thing, right? I think even Marvel Studios or somebody, I don't know who, actually put out a video saying, no folks, that was actually a real shot. That was a real stuntman that we use here. That was all real, folks. That was not CG. I like, no.
They look
stop it. Stop right here. Stop.
They look fake as fuck. It look like something that Zack D films gonna make. Looking terrible.
Yeah.
Borderline AI. Right.
but last point I'll make, and then you can tell me how wrong I am in terms of the whole action set piece, right? That makes up a huge chunk of the show, right? The moment that worked for me was when he went into that same corner store and he was fighting to save the owner and the family now. And then they play a
Right.
song first. Well as he leave the building and he was going there, right? And he was walking through the streets and he was fighting bad guy after bad guy, right? They play a song, right? You probably you wouldn't know what it is, right? But I remember it from a little movie called Triple X, which
Right.
starred Vin Diesel. If you remember, it's a
Yeah, yeah.
snowboarding
Yeah, I remember the
scene,
movie. And
right?
Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, I remember.
Right. If you remember the snowboarding scene, there's a metal song. I think the name of the song is I Will Be Heard, right? And the chorus is
Okay.
I will be heard. And I hear this song. Like, what? Like, we doing triple X shit in this? And it was working for me, right? 'Cause it was just taking me
Right.
back to that guilty pleasure action movie shit. Because it's Frank out in the streets just shooting down people, and then he just goes into that place and he going after that big man, the bald-headed guy there. I just hear this song in the background. I was like, oh, this is so it's gratuitous, it's gratuitous violence, and it's absurd too, because like just from the jumper, like I understand there's this whole power vacuum thing and this crime family did it. But dog, like literally, just a bunch of gangbangers just going out to the street, just robbing people and shooting people and fires and all that kind of stuff. Like I get where you try to say like, okay, the city going to shit, right? But this is an absurd level of shit that I am seeing here, right? When it comes to that action sequence, it actually kind of works. It actually kind of works, right? I just love this wrap it up. I actually like, not loves really, but I like that at the very end where he saves the family and he walks out. You notice that the tension dies down a bit, right? It kind of seems kind of relatively peaceful, like considerably peaceful now compared to what we saw earlier on, right? So how it ends kind of works. It actually works. It actually works, but not as strong as I wanted to, because still you're selling me on this whole unbelievable notion that literally when you go out in the street, there's a bunch of people who just gonna like hunt you, that's gonna run you down and shoot you. Like this is not the purge, bro. Like what is this? It's insane, right? But the action set piece around the insanity, I think actually works, but just more from a visceral kind of standpoint, right? But that's just me. But yeah, Ricardo, before we get to the last part of it and then we could give our ratings, yeah, tell me how wrong I am in terms of the action. But yeah, we both agree that CG shot, ugh, but
No,
everything else around that, what do
again,
you think about it?
if no, yeah, like as I say, if the rest of it wasn't so like clumsy and thing, I would have been fine with it. As an action sequence, it's fine, I suppose. But again, because everything's so unfinished and it really it's so aimless, I can't really care to give it. The thing is, good action need a good focus around it. So like, I don't really care. Like that's the problem. So it's like whatever. I mean, you're not wrong, Like not really, just I can't get engaged because the rest of it is a mess.
Yeah, and I do understand where you're coming from, and you are right? But then that leads to the end now, right? Now, yes, I do like the suit. Suit looks good.
Yeah.
Also like that you actually see the Punisher logo. Like it literally looks like the comic book logo
Yeah.
that you've seen in other films of the past. So I like that it's
Right.
finally being worked into a Marvel Studios product. That's really cool as well. I like that. We wait long for it, but here we are, right? But it's just the payoff at the end that really let me down, because I thought that at the very end he would go after Nucci, but no. She busts out like when he, as soon as he come out the building. Yeah, they bust out long time. I thought like he was gonna run after them in the end, and that's why to me I felt like the final shot was very underwhelming, right? Because okay, all right, like you're telling me like okay, he just conveniently runs into the same guy who took the vagrant's dog and threw it in front of the
Yeah.
of the garbage truck, killing the dog, right? And this is the last person that you kill before you cut the credits. What would have made that scene
Yeah.
much better is if
That's
it
not
was
John Wick thing.
Manucci. Like if is that John Wick shot, right? Yeah, you
Yeah.
know what? I'm coming
I
for you
remember you.
too. I remember,
Yeah,
bitch.
yeah.
Oh, no, it's like Blade 2. You thought
Blade,
that
right? I was thinking of that. Right,
yeah.
right,
It's
right.
you thought I forgot about you, huh? Right? And you end
Right.
the scene like that, right? But that was a great payoff as well too, because yeah, because yeah, the guy was a jokey character. Yeah, he was, right?
Right.
But it was part of the story, that it was part of what led Blade into, what he was going through now, so it works there, right? But like you tell him, all right, like this one guy that nobody gave a shit about, who was just there to be an asshole. I'm supposed to really feel satisfied that he get gunned down by Frank. with the suit on, okay, fine. I would have felt it
Yeah.
even more if it was Manucci, or if it was that black henchman who was there, who would just stand up there looking all menacing and shit. I would have been okay with that, right? At least to say, "Oh, I'm coming for your family," because that's what I wanted at the end of the day. I'm coming for Nucci, you know. And if it was just, "Oh, I coming like I kill the henchman, I'm coming for Manucci," I'd have been okay with that, right? But there's some random gangbanger who kill a dog. It's like, okay, and it's not even Frank Dog, which is like, all right, which is even more underwhelming, right? But yeah, your thoughts on just the final moment, including the whole suit reveal.
Yeah, it's fine. Like, whoever, again, not to talk about it particular, because I just thinking, yeah, okay, this is just like fanboy thing, just a cater to fanboy thing. I was like, all right, fine. But because the story and not the narrative was particularly engaging, I could get myself to care. But yeah, we get to see the suit, it look good. Fine.
Yeah. So overall, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was okay. It could have been much, 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 much better. Again, I felt this could have been longer. Like, okay, like maybe if they didn't have the budget to go for like an hour and 40, like past 90 minutes, they could at least given us something like 80 minutes or less. Like just something longer, because yeah, this feels incomplete. Right down to the whole redemptive arc that Frank is going through, right? The PTSD stuff went on for too long. It just dragged the first act. I thought that the setup with Manucci putting out the hit on Frank was kind of brilliant in my opinion. And then
Right.
I felt that the action sequence surrounding it was really solid, but just the payoff of it wasn't worth it, right? Because they're thinking, okay, well at the end of all this bullshit, you're gonna go after Manucci and just that'll be the one last kill. It's like, no, the last kill is just some random gangbanger. Okay, that's it, right? But if you view it as a series premiere, okay, fine. But because a series wasn't greenlit, and we wouldn't know if we're gonna get a series out of it unless I guess we see unless I guess Brand New Day comes out, and then we'll get news. I guess okay, yeah, there's not really much to take from it, right? So again, it just feels part of a bigger narrative that even if we don't get a full series, we still could have gotten more out of. We could have gotten a full narrative instead of the half of a narrative that we got here, unfortunately, right? So for me, yeah, 2.5 out of 5. See it if you want to. If you enjoy the gnarly violence of the Punisher series and you just want more gnarliness than what you got in Born Again, then watch it, I guess. But yeah, even with a 48-minute runtime, you will come out of it like, yeah, but I wanted more. And even if 48 minutes was the time they was working with, they still could have given us more narrative-wise, thematic-wise, and even action-wise, because it still feels incomplete. Like, that's why I say it really feels like a series premiere more than anything else, right? But I guess, like I say, is when we get the series, then I guess hopefully we'll get to see more of the story play out, right? But yeah, we still could have got more out of what is still in my opinion a series premiere. You still could have got more out of this, right? And that's my opinion. Yeah, Ricardo, your final thoughts, rating.
Yeah, rating. Like a 4 out of 10, maybe a 5 out of 10. I was really underwhelmed with this. It's a big disappointment because usually these like one-off Marvel products tend to be like usually really really fun, either really fun or something of real interest and high quality, and we got neither of that here. I just wish they just made it. It just felt like it just too low effort and just undercooked, as you say, undercooked nookie. Yeah, it don't really work for me. Yeah, 5 out of 10. Really disappointing.